Yeah, so welcome back. I'll call the meeting to order. Just to get the first part of it going. We can do a couple of the first items while we wait for Meg. I don't want to move past into item 2 without her and Helene if possible, though. So first thing is I'll just take an attendance. Michael,
Here.
Mary,
Yeah, yes.
Chris,
Here.
Lauren,
Here.
Sarah,
Here.
and Jay here. We're waiting on Helene and Meg.
Comes Meg.
Here's Meg. Wonderful. Welcome, Meg. We're doing attendance. Meg.
Present.
Meg. Perfect. Thank you. And Helene will be with us soon, and hopefully Maribel. Great. So item number 1, as always, is just review and approval of our meeting minutes. Mary, I just want to apologize to you. I saw this morning that I didn't respond to your email about when you sent the meeting minutes. I do apologize on that. I thought that I had, but I didn't. So I just want to say that before. But did everybody get a chance to review those? Were there any open-ended questions or any concerns there, Mary?
Yeah, I still don't know, was it fiscal year 24 that we were looking at or fiscal year 25? So there was on the screen, there was, the money that,
25. That was my mistake.
okay, so that'll have to be a correction. Okay, so
Yes, it was, if I could explain, and this is something that I've kind of coming into understanding better, is that it is FY25, but the funding, the money comes from the time frame of FY24. So it's kind of in Naomi, you were actually correct, I think, in your statement at that meeting, but that's what it is. That's the fact of it, is that it's our FY25 budget, which is based on the funding that comes from the year of FY24, if that makes sense. So it's a little nuance there that I overlooked, and we've dug into more recently in the last couple weeks. So, but if there are no other outstanding questions, I'll just take a roll call vote on approval of those minutes, and we appreciate the good work, Mary, as usual. Substantially better than the AI, in my opinion.
So the motion is to approve the minutes with that change. That would be
Indeed, yeah.
the fiscal year 25 budget.
Yes, thank you.
So moved.
Michael, thank you. We do it in a second. Michael,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Meg,
Yes.
and Jay, yes. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you again, Mary. Agenda item number 2 is each year we need to re-elect our officers for our for our committee, as we did at this meeting last year. Meg, would you mind, and I at least once a meeting put Meg on the spot without giving her a heads up ahead of time. Would you mind just talking about that a little bit ahead of time, the process of that?
I think in the when we last reviewed the bylaws, effectively, we diverged a little bit from them, and that we've decided to have a financial consultant instead of a treasurer. That just has to do with CPA finances being a lot more complicated than they seem on face. Other than that, I think the goal is that folks are nominating someone or saying I would accept a nomination, and then we vote.
Okay.
It's a 1-year term.
A 1-year term.
So July 1 to June 30th of the next year.
Yes. So, all right. So our first bullet point of agenda item 2 is to select the chair for FY26.
I'd like to nominate Jay Ferreira if he's willing to stay on.
I'd like to second it.
Second, yes.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I just under discussion, I would absolutely be willing to. I very much enjoy it. I'm not sure, if anybody has any specific things that they're looking for more. out of the committee, but I think I hope everybody feels listened to and knows that I would love to hear any feedback or any suggestions on how we may improve our processes. I think, I want everybody on this committee to know, and I truly mean this. I respect everybody so much. Everybody on this committee are the type of people that do things for our city. They don't sit back and complain. They're active participants in fixing the problems of our city, and those are the folks that I like to associate with. So I do enjoy the committee for that reason, and I value serving with everybody. So, is anybody else? Is there any other discussion on that nomination by Meg? All right, hearing none, I'll take a vote. Michael,
Yes, to have Jay return as their chairman.
thank you. Mary,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Meg,
Yes.
Lauren,
Yes.
and Jay. I will vote for myself. Yes. Thank you so much.
Conflict of interest.
Yes, I was just thinking, I was like, should I vote for myself? I don't know.
Sure.
Why not?
I'll go for it. Thank you all. I appreciate it. And I do mean it. If anybody has anything that you'd like to see done differently, like I promise you, I'd love to hear the feedback. So don't be shy. The next bullet point is the nomination of the vice chair for the committee. And we've had Michael serve in the role for at least, is it 2 straight years? At least that I know of, I believe it's 2. Michael's been on the committee a long time and has done a great job. And he's somebody that I've reached out to, if I'm not sure about something, it's somebody that I can kind of bounce off ideas, and I've appreciated that. I would just in the spirit of mixing things up, would nominate Sarah for the vice chair position. I think that in discussions with her lately, she's been looking to be more involved in the committee and take on a more active role, and has done so by joining the contract subcommittee, and then also kind of jumping in more on the Jones Point projects and wading into the Glow Tech for us. And that would be my nomination
I
for
second it.
the vice chair. Thank you, Michael. I appreciate that. Appreciate that. Second, is there any other discussion on that topic?
So do we have 2 people nominated?
No, it's just Sarah at the moment.
Okay.
And yep.
Okay.
And would anybody else like to add anything to that, or would we like to have a discussion or a vote, I should say?
Go right to a vote. I'm good.
If Sarah's okay with stepping up and Mike is okay with Sarah taking it on for a term, I'm comfortable with that.
Is
As
that
long as
something?
Mike's okay with it. Mike's done a great job too.
Yes.
You guys have done a better job, believe me.
Yes, and to full disclosure, Mike, I certainly I'll just still continue to reach out whenever needed, title or not. So I think functionally it'll be very similar in that sense. But so we have a motion made and seconded to establish Sarah as the vice chair of our committee. And I'll have a roll call vote on that. Michael?
Yes, I vote to have her as the vice chair.
Mary?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Sarah? I guess you can vote for yourself, right? Well, let's go with it. Yes. If assuming you will. Meg?
Yes.
Lauren?
Yes.
And Jay, yes. So by unanimous vote, Sarah, thank you for stepping up into the position. Truly, Michael, thank you for your continued service, and I think it'll be a good fit.
Thank you.
Bullet
I'm
point.
looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Bullet point number 3 is the election of a secretary. Mary has done an outstanding job, and not just in the services of the secretary job, but also as somebody again who I've relied on in situations where I'm uncomfortable. I want somebody to, bounce an idea off. Essentially, as I describe it to my wife, make sure I don't do anything stupid. So Mary's very good at that. She's somebody that's a good listener, and we've had a lot of great conversations that have been helpful, and I appreciate that.
And the way I talk, generally I would tell someone they were stupid if I thought.
Yes, and that's what I need sometimes.
Mary, are you willing to be nominated
Well,
again?
here's the thing. I just was looking up. We had this discussion last year in regards to, whether you can do it that number of years in a row, and I can't find it. That's something I need to learn is how to. There's a way you can do running minutes, and you can look up a topic. I don't know, Naomi. Do you know how to do that? But at any rate, so that you can find something at a moment's notice, and I haven't been able to find it, what the discussion was and how it ended. But it has to do with the rule for how many years have the same person in the same role. I don't know. We just went ahead and voted it in. I don't mind doing it for another year.
Yay, I nominated Mary.
There's someone else.
Second.
I don't know, Lauren. You look like you might want something. No.
I'm on like 3 other boards.
Yes, which we respect. Yeah, but no, Mary's done a great job. I think, I think for a position like the chair, we'd want to be very careful about not extending past the term limit or even the vice chair. I think the secretary position, we can, maybe exist in the gray area a little bit here, and we should just in good practice look up what the specific guidelines are and make sure that we're operating within them. But I think I feel comfortable moving forward with it if everybody else does. And I would move. We do have a motion on the floor made and seconded to appoint Mary as our secretary for another year. I'll just take a roll call vote. Michael?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Meg?
Yes.
Lauren?
Yes.
And Jay, yes. So by a unanimous vote, Mary has been voted to another term as our secretary. Thank you, Mary, for your service, and we appreciate it. Helene did just message me. She's not going to be able to make it tonight, unfortunately. So we'll have to circle back and fill her in. Moving on to agenda item 3 is just the application schedule. This is something, I don't know that we necessarily always have to take a vote on this, but this is something that I think is important. So I just like for us to all have a discussion about it and have everybody have a good understanding of what we're thinking. Naomi, would you mind sharing that graphic that you created or that we updated this afternoon with the schedule on it? And Chris, I'll probably ask you to hop in here too once you see the graphic, because it's, of course, historical is a part of that.
I see it.
I do not.
It says I'm sharing. Let me try again. Stop share. Now?
Yes.
Okay.
You can all see it. I can't see it.
Yes,
Oh,
I can see it.
I guess because it's on
On
my
the
phone.
phone, you have to swipe.
I have to swipe. Okay.
I'm
There
not
we go.
sure.
I got it. Perfect. Thank you. So this is the general outline is June 2025 is where we are. We're going to put out a press release very soon and do a social media blast. We're essentially doing outreach at the moment. We want to do the best job that we can to get the word out. So, I would like folks to be thoughtful about this. How can we get this word out better? Please share this information with, our application cycle with your committees. Please share it on your social media if you can, or if there's an organization in the city that you think could benefit. We want to get the word out as good as possible. And, any thoughts on that, please send me a follow-up email and we can we'll do anything we can to get the word out. We think that's very important. But the schedule would basically be as follows: is that August 1st, the eligibility applications would be due. I think it's a 2-page document, so it's pretty easy to get those completed. They have 51 days. I checked from today would be the due date, which is very doable. Like I said, it's not some extensive application. It's the first stage application, which I think is 2 pages. In the past, we had the eligibility subcommittee. I'm going to suggest to the committee, I'm not bound to this, but I'm going to suggest that Naomi and I work together to try to determine eligibility, and that I, as the chair, will take the responsibility to make a decision on that. And if there's anything that's just, a gray area or just potentially questionable, I will bring that issue to the full committee and we can just have a discussion about it. I don't know if folks feel comfortable with that, but I think that would be a reasonable process. I think after having gone through it last year as chair and seeing everything play out and having these discussions, I think I am pretty well positioned to decide on eligibility on our behalf. So after that, the full application would be due August 3rd. That would give a couple of months to get the full application together. Naomi made the suggestion, which I think is an excellent idea, to host an application workshop. It can be confusing. The process can be a little bit confusing. We're not going to expect every single organization to fully understand how things work. And I think this is a way of opening ourselves up more and inviting more people into what we do. And I think it's a home run. Chris, I think the timeline that would work for us.
Excuse me. Did you
Yep.
say August 3rd?
August 1st. Is it August 1st? I think is the Friday.
Oh, okay. That's what I thought. But then I thought you
Yes.
just said August 3rd. Sorry,
Oh,
I'm
I
just
may
double
have.
checking.
I may
Okay.
have. I meant
No
August.
worries.
Yes, August 1st was the intended, which is the Friday. So I think that sounds the best. Chris, we were hoping we could be on the agenda for the November Historic Committee
Okay.
meeting, if possible. And I think we're flexible on this. Certainly, we know that you have a lot of other things that you need to balance. So we want to, of course, be respectful of
Yep.
that. But
That's
that would give us, if we're looking at October 3rd for the full applications due, that would give your committee at least a full month to review those applications ahead of time, which I think was important. Last year, I apologize, we cut that pretty close. I think you only had a few days,
Right.
if that, to review it. And you and your committee were fantastic. We appreciated that. But this
Sure.
will give a little bit more time to kind of absorb everything and ask questions and do some digging. And that would, assuming that worked out, we could go to the January public presentations, February vote, and then March we'd move it forward to the city council, and then beginning in April or as soon as the council approves it, we'll begin the contract signatures. Under discussion, does anybody have any thoughts on that they might want to add? Any problems that they see? Chris?
I think just the one issue my commission has just kind of brought up for an applicant basically to attend 2 meetings. I don't know what the rest of the commission thinks about that, or, just why having the applicant coming in twice.
What I don't follow that they are coming in twice.
Like the review, because we'll be reviewing them in October and then also November. Is there something where we can, maybe just a one-time thing, or I know
Yeah,
that.
I think from our perspective, it would be a one-time thing. It would just be the November review. Yeah, it would just be
Okay.
the November meeting. So October would just be, the time that Tyler could do his work, and
Well,
your committee.
we do it twofold. So usually Tyler sometime is involved with actually, if needed, with the October meeting as
Okay.
well.
Okay.
So I
Okay.
just something maybe to streamline. I'm not sure.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. And we can keep working with historic too. we want to make it as easy as possible and make sure that you all have as much information as needed. So
Okay.
appreciate that. Any other concerns, thoughts? Meg?
I think Michael was first.
I apologize. Michael.
Yeah,
Thank you, Meg.
Mr. Chairman, if you wanted to be the final determiner of the, or being the first line of determination for the eligibility requirements, okay, that's fine, but can Naomi email all the applicants that we can the board members can read about and read up on to see who's applying and why? Now, you and Naomi can take it upon yourselves to weather it through, to make sure everything is done correct and so on and so forth, and being the first filter, if you will. But I really would like to, as a committee member, I would like to find out, for the sake of getting a bead on what the city wants, and what our perceived interests are, that I wish you would at least give us, email it, or present to us, email it or whatever, all the people and all the applicants that we can read ourselves, just to get a beat on what the pulse of the city is. What do folks look for? What do they want? Now, they may not get it, or they may be ineligible for a number of reasons, but at least it'll give us, as committee members, a certain sense of what's going on in the city.
Yes, absolutely. I will. Yes, I'd be happy to. Every committee member can have every eligibility application. Certainly, and some, absolutely, and some of them will be straightforward. Some of them will be like a city park or like some obviously historic building like City Hall, and then some will be a little bit, more nuanced and require some, a little bit of thought and maybe a few dozen emails or so. But I think I think that's absolutely, we'd be happy to share that information and accept any feedback as well, or thoughts throughout. But yep. Meg.
Yeah, I have a couple thoughts. So, eligibility, it definitely makes sense for the staffer and the chair to be a part of that. But as we know, especially the folks who were on the subcommittee this year, a huge part of it is really us reaching out to our partners. It's working with the city solicitor, it's working with Stuart Saganar. When it's presented to the committee, it really is coming from those sources more than anything in a lot of ways. And so part of my question is just, does August work for those stakeholders? Because is Stuart Saganar available in August, or is that his month where he goes on vacation? I don't know,
Yeah.
it's I think the reason why we typically started it in the fall is because people are done with their summer vacations.
Yep.
So I wonder about that, and just checking in with Stuart, checking in with the city solicitor's office. Does that work for them? If it does, great. If not, I think we may need to push that back, because that was initially why we had it in the fall.
Yep.
And what else? Oh, sorry. One second. Okay. My next question is around, normally Tyler's reports comes out of the historic committee review. So is there a reason not to have the historic committee, that piece happen in October? So that,
Yes.
Chris invites them in, they all present in the October meeting, and then the reports happen as a result of that. Only because I know Tyler really likes to really go back and forth sometimes and ask questions, and that becomes the basis of his report.
Yes, I think the thought process was that, and we're certainly flexible, was that we wanted to make sure the historical commission themselves had enough time to review the full applications. And that was based off of last year where they, I think we had the applications, I'm making up numbers, but it was December 3rd and Chris's meeting was December 8th. You know what I mean? And I just wanted to establish a little bit more runway there, but I think we can certainly be flexible with that for sure. And then speaking to the eligibility, we moved that up a bit just because it was such an intensive process last time. We wanted again to give ourselves more space to operate, and we felt that between August 1st and October 3rd, we felt that would be enough time to work with our partners and get, you know, the loose ends tied up. But again, certainly, you know, we'd be very, there's a ton of flexibility with this schedule, and, you know, I would, you know, be wide open to any changes if we felt, that would make sense for us. And we can also, you know, we could also punt on this too, and consider it and have a discussion in July, because we'll be promoting, I think, regardless. So
I just wonder about maybe moving the Tyler reports and the historic committee review to the same month.
okay,
Yes,
would that
and-
work? That would be good, Chris. Okay.
yes,
And
yes.
what month would be best for that? October or November?
I mean, I think we could play with that again, you know, I guess with the applications due in October, you know, giving Tyler some time to peruse. Maybe November, I would assume.
Would that make sense?
Yeah, I would almost like if applications are due October 3rd, then maybe it's the November meeting
Right. Full month.
where that happens. Yeah.
Perfect.
Um,
And regarding eligibility, do we think we should move that number back a little bit? I mean, you know, August 1st was a nice Friday. We were, you know, we could do
Yeah.
August 15th. We could do August 29th. I
think
just,
maybe a little more time makes sense, just given the,
yep,
I don't know.
because we did want to
There's a
allow.
busy time for families.
It is. No, it's a great point. It's a great point. And I think we just wanted to also try to fit in an application workshop as well in that time frame. So,
Yeah.
but again, it's a busy time for folks, so maybe that wouldn't work. But perhaps we could move the eligibility deadline back 2 weeks to August 15th.
There's also no
And
to prevent someone from doing an application workshop before eligibility applications are due.
that's true. No, we could. That's true too. That's true too.
Okay. And then in terms of dates, so we have like the February 10th meeting is where we would be voting in committee. And that means that we would be sending it to council for the 17th meeting. And so that would then get sent to, finance. The earliest we would be able to hear back would be the first council meeting in March. So hopefully, when we're voting, and I know this happened last time, how much time, Naomi, do you want to write the one pagers effectively, I guess is the question.
The last time I had like a 4-day turnaround, and it wasn't that hard to meet that turnaround. It depends, I guess, on the projects, but it doesn't take that long because I cut and paste from the applications. And now I have a template going. It's not that hard.
Yeah, and a lot of that I think can be done preliminarily too. I mean, I think,
Yeah.
at least some, frankly, a bulk of it. So,
We would just need it for the following week. We would need it by the 17th so that we can send it to council.
So I'm sorry, Meg, I don't quite understand the dates you're suggesting.
So because we have a council meeting on February 17th.
Oh, February 17th. Okay, I got the wrong month. Right.
Just because the meetings are always the first and third.
Right.
So if you don't hit the 17th, that could be fine. Just means that then the council won't receive it until the 3rd. And then we wouldn't hear back until the week of the 17th. Which, that can be fine too if you need more time. Like there's nothing to prevent us from doing that if it's needed at the time.
I don't anticipate being a problem.
Yeah.
All right.
So when do we vote on the projects? If we're using February 17th.
I think it was on there before that it was the 10th.
The 10th, yeah, it would be I think I wrote in the on the schedule the February CPA meeting, which would be the 10th.
Oh no, sorry, 11th is the Wednesday.
That's right, the 11th. It's a Wednesday meeting, yes. But yeah, and I just think, it's just an important thing to have these discussions because there's a lot of these small little nuanced things that are, allow us to operate a little bit cleaner. So perhaps we would consider approving the schedule as presented with the change of moving the eligibility application deadline back. Do we want to move back 2 weeks? Do we want to move back a little bit more than that? How do folks feel? 2 weeks, good?
I think
Want to
so.
say eight? Want to say August 15th? And I kind of like that too, because that does give a little bit more time for people to get their applications in, their eligibility applications. And, it is only a 2-pager, but I think, we do want to find that balance the best we can. But all right, is there a motion to approve that schedule with the discussed changes?
So moved.
Second.
In a second. Thank you so much. I'm just going to do a roll call vote on that. Michael,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Lauren,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Meg,
Yes.
and Jay. Yes. So that motion passes unanimously. Thank you so much.
I've been editing as you guys have been making changes. Can you just
Yep.
quickly
Yeah.
tell me if that's accurate?
Yep.
The only thing you might want to do is it would be either like the March 3rd or March 17th meeting for council. So you could put 3 or 7.
I'll just put March. How about that?
Totally. Because it depends on how fast it moves through finance.
Right.
Last time they got us, that we were on the schedule right away. It was almost like Meg had to text me and be like, "You have to go to this meeting tonight."
I was on it. I was like,
Yeah.
just on the agenda.
Yeah. No, I appreciate it. And they were very kind to us. So,
Okay.
outstanding. So agenda item number 4, we sort of talked a little bit about last meeting, and Naomi was kind enough to send us out an application form, which does as far as I've seen, the best job of describing the program. I'll be honest, I was really impressed as I dug in at all the good work and thoughtfulness that have been done in building this program up. And I was almost sad that it didn't initially work out, because I just think it's a great idea, and it just seems so well constructed that I'm like, I feel like I expect it to be something that's good. But my thought was that we have a remaining budget of $122,000. We have this small projects program already created. It's just not active. And we've had some interest in small grants. I've had folks reach out about community gardens. I've had folks reach out about historic plaques, one in particular for POWs. And I think that these are the types of projects that the CPA is here to support, and I think that it's a good opportunity for us to sort of just do some good work for some smaller projects as the program's created for. So my proposal or request was to appropriate $15,000 for this program, which would be presumably 5 projects, not necessarily. Perhaps they'd be less than $3,000, and we'd be able to do more projects. I'm not sure, how that will play out, but I think that it's worth allocating some money towards. And then, the process would be, the entire committee would be included in any decision making on funding projects as well. So it's not like, this isn't give Jay $15,000. This is just, allocate this money to this program for potentially eligible projects that are small. Were there any discussion on this?
Mr. Chairman, actually,
Yes.
if I may, the whole committee, I wonder why when we first discussed the small grant application need, I think like everybody else, thought there'd be a lot of people with small applications, and I'm kind of astonished that more people haven't come forward with small applications, because the process is so, in the scheme of things, rather easy. and not too involved. And I'm just, I guess, speaking out loud, I'm a little surprised more folks haven't availed themselves to this to help them through over a small hump, or for big hump if they got a small committee, with not a lot of really effort or expertise. I'm just a little surprised, I guess I'm saying, that more people haven't done it. If you want to appropriate $15,000 from, I guess, FY25, this would apply to FY26. Yeah, I just hope I hope somebody takes advantage of it, because it's really a home run. I mean, for
I think
folks with small needs.
I think so too. Like I said, I feel like there's a need, and potentially part of it could be just that the CPA was still a little bit new and hadn't had time to, you know, make a name for themselves. And now that, the committee's brought forward some impressive projects, there's more of an awareness of it. So I hope that might help us. Meg, I saw your hand up.
Mary was first, I think.
Oh, I apologize. Mary.
Okay,
Yes.
I like the idea of appropriating the money, except for I want to make sure, I was wondering if we needed to make sure everything, in the plan for the small grants was exactly as we want it. Which thing comes first, the plan or the money? And one of the questions I have, if there is no pitching to the general public, how is the project going to be made? How is the information going to be made public? I know they're small grants, but how would the public be aware of how much money is going to be given and for what if they don't have to pitch to the public?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm not sure exactly what we might do. I think, yeah, I don't know, Mary. I'll tell you, I have to admit, you stumped me on that one. Meg, do you have any thoughts on that? What did we do in the past?
Yeah.
What was the process?
So this is where I was gonna go. So
Yeah.
Mary, thank you for that setup. So
Yeah.
People didn't know it existed. I mean, that's why. I mean, so I think the hardest part is, and even like we thought, oh, this process is, we've really streamlined it down. It's so accessible. People are still like, what projects work and don't work? Like they don't understand what really is possible here. And even filling this out for a lot of people feels like a lot or intimidating. So the things that I would suggest if we want to do this again, and this was like my baby, right? Like it totally crashed and burned and went nowhere. It was so sad. So if like we want to try it again, I am completely willing to try again. So I think that there needs to be a media release. I think we have to get it out there. I think it would behoove us to actually create a timeline for it. Like,
Okay.
do you want to fill out a small grant application? Is there something small in the city or in your neighborhood that you want to see fixed? Come to like, kind of you're talking about doing the application workshops, Naomi. Like, come meet me at like Heritage State Park at X date. I will be there for 2 hours. I will help you. You tell me about it. I'll fill it out for you. Like, I think it literally needs to be that, like, we're going to make this easy for you.
Yep.
I could do it over the phone for people or over Zoom for
Yeah.
people.
Yeah,
Totally.
both. Yeah.
Both.
Mary,
and
was
I think
that
it needs to be really careful. Like, we could do a banner, right? We could do lawn signs that we could put in a couple strategic places. We could do tabling at like different events that are happening in the city. We could do radio. Like we'd have to get it out there if we want it to be used by people.
Could you do social media slides? Like I
Mhm.
feel like that could be a useful way of getting things out. Sorry to just jump in.
No,
Yeah.
no, absolutely. Yep. No, that's a great point. Michael.
Megan, you bring up a great idea. Quite frankly, when is Celebrate Holyoke, or what is the big festival that happens? Is that in July or August?
So there's like Fiestas Patronales, which is the first the first weekend in August, and then there's also there's one in South Holyoke. There's that's a little before that. That's the Noche de San Juan, and then there's also like Paper City Food Festival. Like there's a couple between the summer and the fall.
Well, I mean, well, that being said, there's three anyway.
Mhm.
that are community-wide or sort of community-wide. Why don't we get some poor souls like myself to sit there and have a booth, for the lack of whatever, I don't know, a table and some chairs, and say, look, we're the community preservation of Holyoke.
Yeah.
And one of the things we offer is small grants that aren't that involved. And we're here to help you to get you through it, at least by way of an introduction. It gives people faces and names that this program is out there. Sometimes even when you read about it in the newspaper, people are saying, geez, as Megan pointed out, I'm not a big, the person at home at the kitchen table saying, I don't want to do that paperwork. I mean, it's too involved. I can't handle it. But if we had some people at those festivals, just with a table and a couple of chairs to say, look, if you wanted to put up small gardens or I don't know, whatever the case may be, whether you're a city committee or a local neighborhood committee, these are the eligibility requirements and it's not that involved and we can help you. At least you're right there talking to the person in a rather informal, personal manner that may bring out some more ideas. I think, Megan, you hit the nail on the head. That's my thought. That's just a thought, guys.
No, absolutely. And I think especially with these smaller organizations, they're not going to have the resources to, wade into some of this stuff. So I think being available as a committee is the correct move for sure. Mary, one question I wanted to ask though was the essence of your question about how we'll get the word out about the program itself, or how we'll let the public know which projects have been selected?
Okay, so yes, I first of all, yes, I like the idea of putting the money towards it. Yes, everything that Megan said is absolutely true. We need to get the word out. But going back to the description that you have on the screen, Holyoke Community Preservation Act small grant application, is everything in there exactly as we want it? Because, for example, it says in there that the small grant application does not require pitching to the public. So my question from that is, how will the public know about this? That we're giving money to something without any to the public. So I'm in agreement with everything that has been said, except for I also want to make sure that everything in that description is exactly as we want it.
Yep.
Can I just say that this is, I did not edit this at all. This is from the previous one. I think that we want a number of eyes on this. We would update it. I would suggest that we make it a little less wordy and make it more concise. And because people don't read, so you have to really make it simple, even though it's very well written. But we want it to be updated, and I'm happy to edit it down, but I do want input as to what we're saying and make sure that it meets the committee's needs. And the other thing I thought about Michael's suggestion, if we're going to table at citywide activities this summer, we could promote this and the regular CPA application process. We could just promote CPA.
Agreed.
For sure. Well, I think a couple of things too is that I think I personally feel comfortable with the language as written, and I think that we will be discussing and voting on these projects in committee. While they won't have to present publicly, we'll still discuss the project, so the public will have that opportunity to see their the process play out. But that's a great thought, Mary. And I, as you could tell by my not having an answer when you asked it, I hadn't considered that. So I do appreciate that question very much. Meg.
So just to Mary's point around the document itself, I think that we should make it less wordy. I think that there's some basic stuff we have to change, like where the staffer name and email is. But if you scroll down to where people check off what their project is actually aligned to in terms of CPA categories, I think it needs to be really clear that this is something that is done by the staffer. This is not something the person does. They will have no idea, right? And right now it says check those that apply. One of the feedback pieces that did come out clearly when we were talking with the subcommittee with Stuart is he was like, tell people to check off one box, right? Like one box that can be like really defended is way better than people just like, well, I think it could be 4. Because actually then it makes it more complicated to figure out what they're eligible for, what they're not eligible for. So I think like in consultation, like in discussion with the staffer, does this, proposed project, meet, eligibility? And like the staffer would do that, not the person. So I think that was one thought, and we should encourage it to say, like, to check one, and for there to be a space around like why, like why does it fit that category? But something the staffer does, not the applicant. And if you go back up to the examples section, I think that we should make the examples. I think it'd be better to have fewer examples, and for them to be really doable. Like I think when we put playground equipment up there, it gets really confusing because people don't know what that means. We can't buy basketballs, right? They're not fixed to the property. People won't understand what that means, and then we'll just frustrate them because they'll ask for stuff that we can't give them. And also, a lot of stuff is not $3,000. You can't install a swing set. People don't understand. They go to Home Depot and they're like, oh, a trash can equals X. They don't understand that a municipal trash can done in the way that a city has to do it with a concrete pad and a bolted down metal trash can, we're talking thousands. Right. So I think there's some sticker shock from people. And I think like we should be clear around, what types of projects could fit. And we need to be, ready to support in many cases with connecting them to department heads, connecting them to groups who are doing this work, who could maybe support them to do it, or reaching out and saying, okay, great, you want to see a trash can at your park? Like we would need to have a conversation, I think, with Matt Sokop and also with the new Parks and Rec director on this before we go live with it, around what does that look like for you? What projects would you like to see? Which vendors do you already have lined up? Because if we have 6 people come forward and say, we would really like trash cans at the following parks and we want to use CPA funding to do it, great, here's our vendor, right? And then we would like bulk order through that, right?
Yeah, I think we could certainly and should whittle down some of those things. I think my point was that the main points and the main parameters of the program I think are good, for sure. Any other just.
In other municipalities, committees themselves generate applications. So this came from that thinking, is that like we're waiting for everything to come to us. That's not true everywhere. There are committees that are like, we have identified that this is the problem. No one's coming to us about this, but we know it needs to happen. We're the applicant, and they create the application. So I do think in this, there can be a little bit of guidance that we can provide around things that like we know we can help people to do. So like I remember when Springfield talked to us about their version of this is like homeowner support, right? Which is not where this is going, but we had looked into that at one point. They were like, we started first with just windows and doors, right? Like let's make it simple and lean into what we have the capacity to support. So while we could open it up to lots of options, we could also really narrow it to just a couple things. Like, would you like to see X at your park? Would you like to see this at your that? Reach out to us. We can help you with this.
Yep. Naomi, did you have something? I apologize. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's fine. So I think in addition to the application as is, are you guys comfortable with having an online fillable form as one of the application options? If you do that, and we could put guardrails around it if we're worried about it, but if you do that, then you can control how people answer. You can do radio buttons where they can only pick one as opposed to checking off multiples. A lot of people prefer to do it online, so.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I'd like to have both still and have that, because I mean, certainly if Michael and I are sitting down at a festival at a table this summer, we'd like to have some applications available too, or things like that. But I like the idea of adding that and just making it more accessible for folks to apply for sure.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Any other thoughts? Mary?
You need a motion of some kind. For example, you started out saying something about, we had this extra money. Can we put it towards this?
Yes. So I'm asking, yes. So the request I suppose I'm making is that we appropriate $15,000, which will then need to be approved by the city council first, Meg, correct? So the process as I would see it is that we would vote to appropriate $15,000 to this small projects program, which we would then send to the city council for their sign off. They're our overseeing body, and they need to approve that. And then once they've done so, we would be able to be proactive and getting the word out and kind of turning up usage of this program. And then from there, ideally it'll just sort of build on itself and folks will be more aware of it and hopefully it'll roll from there. Cause like I said, I just feel like there's a need, and I just felt like as I dug into it, once I really did, is that it's just a well-constructed program as well. So, but yeah, that would be the request, that we appropriate $15,000 to this program to start off. I think it's a reasonable amount, considering what we have left over in our budget. I think it's, it is about on par of what I would think we might get for projects to start off. And yeah, that would be the request. And I would love a motion towards that if anyone were willing in a second. Mary.
Moved.
And I just ask that you say this year or add in this year so that it's not open-ended, that every year they're going to get $15,000.
Yes, it would just be a one-time allocation, and and this would be a little bit of a test for us. We could see how it goes. We can, and we can play with the numbers a little bit in future cycles. Do we want to add more? Do we need to have less? Do we want to change things? But I think it's a valuable program, and I think we should fire it up again and see if we can make it work and troubleshoot any issues and make improvements year to year as we go through. Meg.
Can I ask a question around fiscal year?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah. Can we take from the FY25 budget and expend it in FY26?
I mean, the thing is it's it's similar to, in my estimation, would be like we funded wayfinders, right? But we haven't expended the money yet, but they've been funded and approved. So it's sort of like we've already pre done it from the FY25, and then whenever it plays out. I mean, it is a kind of a nuanced thing, and I do get what you're saying. And I mean,
I think we may have to pull it from FY26.
yeah, either way, yeah, because it's going to carry over anyway. So it's right. And from a financial perspective, it'll be the same. But I think it's a good point that we should just get clarity from probably Tanya or Rory on like exactly what that process is. But I can certainly do that, or Naomi as well. Or between the two of us, I think we could get that sorted out. But yes, that is a good one with Meg, and I can do that.
Mr. Chairman, so
Yes.
all things being considered and just discussed, if it goes to FY26, well, so be it. $15,000 to the small application folks out of FY26, and let's see if we can give it some legs. Let's see if we can get out there more than we have. I mean, not that we haven't been busy. We've been very busy.
Yes.
But for the need, that unique niche that this appeals to, Mr. Chairman, I think we could do a better job of letting people know that it exists. And quite well, so I would like to make a motion that we take $15,000 out of FY26 if we can, and apply it to the small business grant or small application grant, as we discussed
Yes, I would offer a friendly amendment that why don't we just say we'd like to allocate $15,000 from this program? And we know that we have that from FY25, and we know that we'll have it in FY26. And however, whatever technical path Tanya, our city auditor, recommends is what we'll go with. Would that be
Sure.
acceptable to folks? Essentially, we're going to spend $15,000 on this program, or allocate towards it. And, it'll be either from our FY25 carryover balance or just our full FY26 balance.
So moved.
Again, it's a recommendation to council. Like we can recommend it to council and see what they say.
Yes, of course. Yes. Yes. We still need to ask permission from the council for this and have a discussion, and, perhaps I'll have to appear and explain the program, but I'd be happy to do it.
In terms of,
guys, look at what we're talking. Look how much time we're spending on $15,000. You wonder why people don't apply to grants? This is perfectly why. We're involved in this stuff, and we're more familiar with it than the average guy or gal. And look at the time we have talking about $15,000. You wonder why people don't apply? This is why they don't apply. Well, the city council's got to do this, and then the city council's got to do that. This committee's got to approve this, and this committee's got to do that. My God, it's $15,000. I mean, you wonder why people don't apply? If whoever is out there watching there in TV land, this is probably why you don't want to apply. I mean, come on.
well, I would encourage them to apply despite it. But my point is that if we want to get it to be approved by council, we need to get this to them by the 13th. I need to put it in as an order on the 13th, which is
Okay.
Noon?
Okay. Let's
in 2
take a vote.
days.
We do have a motion on the floor. Could I get a second to that with the friendly amendment added?
I'll second.
Second. Thank you, Sarah. And I'll take a roll call vote on it to appropriate $15,000, certainly pending approval by our esteemed city council. Michael.
Yes.
Mary.
I'm totally in favor, but at the end of this, I'm going to ask you to re-clarify because you just said something about an amendment. So, I mean, my answer is yes, but please clarify after you're all done.
Yeah. The amendment was just that we wouldn't specify what fiscal year the money is coming from because we're not sure if it's a carryover or not.
Okay.
Yep, and that would be all. Yep, nope. It's important that we're always good on that. Chris.
Yes.
Sarah.
Yes.
Lauren.
Yes.
Meg.
yes.
And Jay, yes. So we'll get working on that. And Naomi, if you would touch base with Meg, because Meg will be the one that needs to get that in for us. And Meg, would you let me know if I need to appear at all? And I'll certainly try to keep an eye on it. But thank you so much. I appreciate that. And Mary, yes.
Okay, so about this topic again, in the minutes, we said that the organization, I think it's Neighbor to Neighbor, that had sent in an application, that we would give them a definitive answer at this meeting as to whether they were eligible or not for their small grant. Are we still able to do that, or do we want to just say that that's still on hold? Anyway, it was in the minutes, and it was proposed that it would be solved for this meeting, at this meeting.
Yeah, I think it's we haven't really we expect it to be eligible, but we haven't officially done that. And I think we'll reach out to Neighbor to Neighbor and to let folks know. But I think I'd like to wait till the city council sees it and makes a determination, and then from there we can let folks know about eligibility and things of that nature. But yes. Meg.
So I will try just for ha-has to try to pass it on the floor on the 17th.
Yeah.
But because, why not try? The likelihood of that is very slim. They're going to want to send it to finance. The problem is that after the 17th of June, our next council meeting is August 5th because we go on summer recess.
Mm-hmm.
So just in terms of time, what's most likely is that it won't be approved until August 5th.
Yep. And, that's the best we're going to be able to do. I think it's a program that was, was sitting there for us, and I think we're gonna, you know, we're gonna move it forward the best we can, and we'll try to accommodate everyone, you know, as we can. Agenda item number 5 was just I just wanted to carve out a little bit of time to discuss the contract updates. Naomi, did you want to do that? Do you want me to? I feel like you're better positioned to, if you'd like to. You've been doing most of the heavy lifting, so.
Holyoke, 2 contracts are still in process. The tiny house one is the most complex one, and I've had several phone calls with Mike Moriarty, and we need 3 documents which will be sent out as a package using the Sign Now platform, and they all have to be completed and approved, and then we upload all 3 together. I can't do them one at a time because the contract requires those 2 supplementals, and the 3 of them are the contract itself, which was completed and approved by the contract subcommittee, I don't know, a couple months ago, and then there's a affordability restriction that Michael has been working on with Alicia and the legal team, and that's been slow going, but that's happening. We don't weigh in on that. That's up to them to determine, and then we'll look at the final product. And then the statement from Alicia's office that the planning department will monitor compliance for this contract. And Alicia's of the opinion that that doesn't need to be an MOA, that can be just on letterhead from her department with her signature. And, you know, they're working with legal, so whatever they all feel is the right method is fine with me. It's supposedly happening any day. We shall see. I'm going to let Michael know that next week, from Wednesday, the 18th, early in the morning through Sunday, pretty late at night, I'm going to be out of town. I'm going to Baltimore as a delegate for my church's annual association meeting, the Unitarian Society. And I'm really excited about that and happy that I was asked to do that. But it means that I'm not going to bring my CPA laptop. I'll be able to answer emails and do quick things, but I'm going to be flat out. So I need to let Michael know that if it doesn't get to me by the Tuesday of next week, it's not happening till the following week.
Yeah.
So
Just essentially just to summarize, Alicia Zeller, Alicia is Alicia Zeller from Community Development. She's the one. Her office is going to oversee just making sure that the property remains an affordable property. That's something that typically in our applicants, it's usually done at the state or the federal level, because our applicants in the past have had both state and or federal funding coming with their projects, but there wasn't that for this project. So we needed to have somebody that oversaw the affordability restriction. Alicia Zeller's office has been kind enough to offer to do that. So she and Michael are working on that, and that's, you know, to make a long story short, is the CPA has handled their end of the deal, and we're just waiting on the other folks to just wrap up their own business, and we'll button it up as soon as we can. So, and it's moving, the process is moving along pretty well. And also the YMCA was signed since our last meeting, Naomi, is that correct? I think I'm trying to think of when.
Yeah, the Y is signed, and he's put out a bid for a vendor, and the stained glass and Glautech have been signed for a while, and they can start spending money and doing their thing.
Yep.
We just got an email from the legal department regarding Lawrence School. I had asked her to look at the historic document, which apparently is a state certification. It can't be edited. And she responded just today, a few hours ago. I've already shared it with the subcommittee that we don't need that the extra historic document, because the contract itself contains a language that indicates it's historic property, and we say something in the contract that it has to be a school for 3 years. So
Yep.
with that language, she said the additional document wasn't needed. So,
Yeah,
I asked for feedback from the committee. I see that Meg has some. I didn't read her email yet, but I know that it's there. So that's almost done, and hopefully I'll be able to upload that quickly. And then Michael also told me that the community center was waiting on the tiny house because that was much more straightforward. I would have done the easy, straightforward one first and just done it, but he's been, he's always flat out. So that will happen, but nothing has happened on that really. So aside from our prep of a final draft of the contract that was vetted by the legal department. So that's where the contracts are.
Yeah.
Do you have any
Yeah, no,
questions about any of that?
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Naomi's been doing a lot of good work. And like I said, I mean, our side of the street is handled. We're waiting on other folks to do what they need to do and make sure the process is clean and comes out how it's supposed to come out. But, that's all we can do. And we're supporting everybody. We're supporting our applicants without importing all of their problems, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? We're allowing them to kind of problem solve as needed and being supportive. And I think it's moving along good. So, yeah.
A couple more admin updates though, Jay, that aren't on the agenda, just real brief ones.
I'm sorry.
I said I have a couple more admin updates that I emailed you about that are not on the agenda. They're both real brief.
Okay. Are they? Okay. Please.
One of them is the Tyler, the consultant, the historic consultant. I reached out to him for two reasons: to ask him if he wanted to continue for FY26. He said yes. And to ask him for an invoice for any work done in FY25. He said he didn't write any reports and he's not charging us anything. I think we had $800 in the budget for him in FY25, something like that. And he's not charging us a penny. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is that I'm going to be taking, I mentioned this before the meeting, pretty intensive Munis training. The Munis stuff and then consequently the fiscal record keeping, which depends on the Munis stuff, has really slowed down due to my inability to learn this system sort of on my own with ad hoc help. So, and I told Michael before the meeting, it's really kicked me in the ass and hurt my ego. But I'm really happy because both Kelly and Rory got on it fast. I think Jay nudged them. And I'm going to be taking training with both of them on the simple functions that I need to do, like to use invoices to create a request for a purchase order and vendor searches and account searches, those kinds of simple things, which I still can't do after 6 months. And also the fiscal record keeping, which depends on the Munis stuff happening and also other reports that can come from Munis. So Rory, the treasurer, and Kelly Curran from HR are going to be helping me and training me in a more comprehensive, sort of more deep dive way. So hopefully that will work.
Yeah, definitely. And they're enthusiastic about it. And just, Munis is just incredibly difficult and famously so. So we're sort of working through it. Kelly Curran, the personnel director, and Rory Casey, the city treasurer, are sort of I don't know if this is official, but I refer to them as like the super users of Munis. They just know it best. And they've set aside time this week to train Naomi just on that. And Meg was the one who did the nudging rather than I. So I have to give her the credit
appreciate that.
on that. So we do appreciate it. But yes, no. Thank you
They're
so
also
much.
teachers. They both know how to teach, as opposed to just tab through the form and say, okay, you do this, you do that. And so I think that I need to be taught.
Yeah, absolutely. And I hope that that will work out. And I think we have a time set already, so that'll be great. Friday.
So that's my admin update.
Thank you so much for your continued good work, and we continue to progress through the important things. Everything's getting taken care of, and it is what it is. So number 6, old business. I just wanted to give one update, and that our budget will be substantially higher than I anticipated. The funding from FY26 is coming from the tax receipts of FY25, where we are at 1.5%. So I can tell you right now, we'll have an official budget next month, but I can tell you right now that we'll have $705,000 from the city CPA surcharge plus a state match of, I believe it's 15.4% plus our carryover balance on FY 25 plus our income from investment from FY 25. So back of the napkin math, we may be approaching $1 million budget for next year, which is quite a bit higher than I had thought. Thank you so much, honey. And it, you know, it's good news. I was honestly surprised. I hadn't expected that. And you know, we just have some questions about how the investment income was counted. We're not sure. We want to make sure we're not double counting it essentially. So that's the only open-ended thing. We're going to work that out with Tanya and Daniel, and we should have an official budget for next meeting to present. But those are the numbers, you know, broadly. So it's going to be a healthy budget for FY 26. And you know, I wanted to just share that information as well. So, were there any other questions or concerns with the members? If not, we can adjourn the meeting. I appreciate everybody. I do thank you.
2 minutes.
I'm sorry.
Meg, can you stay on for 2 minutes so we can just ID what I need to do for your city
Perfect.
council
Perfect.
meeting?
All right. So I thank you all. We don't need to take a vote to adjourn the meeting, as we've learned, and I hope everyone enjoys the rest of this nice night. I'm gonna eat this burger that's right here. So thank you so
Yum.
much.
Everybody.
Good night.
Thanks.
Good
Good night.
night.